All right, so welcome to today's EIMOC Barry and Linda Franklin Microgrant Award presentation webinar. I'm Neil Peterson, one of the co-chairs for EIMOC, and next to me here is Carrie, the other co-chair.
Hi, I'm Carrie Davidson, University of Kentucky, Neil's counterpart here for the co-chair of the EIMOC committee. We're excited to host this webinar featuring our 2021 Microgrant winners as they share their goals and methods, results, and experiences of their grant projects.
Now, before we get started, there's just a few housekeeping items to make you aware of. This is a voice over IP webinar, meaning it is completely web-based. So if you experience some technical difficulties or if your video begins to buffer, it is likely caused by the strength of your internet signal. So if you're having issues, try logging off and then logging back on. And we are recording this webinar so you can watch it later if you have too many technical difficulties.
And if you have a question during the webinar, please type it into the question area within the GoToWebinar navigation pane, and we'll get to as many as we can at the end of the presentation.
Now, today's webinar will feature the 2021 Barry and Linda Franklin EIMOC Microgrant Awardees. First, we will hear from Nicole Moody, PhD from Rockhurst University, recipient of the Physical Activity and Promotion Grant. Next will be Christopher Swartz, PhD from St. Ambrose University, will present as the Physical Activity Screening and Education Grant recipient. And then lastly, Aaron Howie Hickey, PhD, and Bryce Daniels, PhD, from the University of Arkansas will present as recipients of the Physical Activity Assessment and Referral Grant.
At the end of the presentation, we will open up for question and answer with our panelists to discuss your questions about their projects and the upcoming microgrant cycle opening in January of 2023.
Thank you. We'll now go ahead and begin with our first presenter.
Is Nicole Moody, and I am an associate professor and program coordinator for exercise science at Rockhurst University in Kansas City, Missouri. I'm also the founder of our campus Exercises Medicine on Campus initiative, which began nearly 10 years ago. I'd like to start by familiarizing you with our campus here at Rockhurst University. We're an urban university, small in size and population. We have about 7 academic buildings, 3 residence halls, as well as townhomes for students, and 2 additional campus support buildings with various campus offices, as well as our recreation building. We have about 3,500 students, which includes 2,700 undergraduate students and about 800 graduate students. Our population is 2/3 female, 1/3 male, and we have about 550 roughly faculty and staff on our campus. I'd like to mention those stats really so that you recognize the type of campus that we have. We're small, and because of that small size and small population, there are a few limitations that really hindered us in our initiation of an exercises medicine program on our campus, or that I really saw as obstacles. One main limitation being that we did not have, and we still do not have, a campus health center. So we don't have physicians on campus that our students can go to if they're having any health issues. And so when we had that kind of pie in the sky goal of reaching that gold level of having that exercise prescription handed down from that physician, that was really a limiting point. And we also didn't have initially a fitness facility on campus, and we still continue to not have a fitness facility that actually has a campus recreation staff. And so, again, really limiting not only reaching that gold level, but really having any type of framework for fitness programming or promoting fitness on our campus. So initially, the Exercises Medicine on Campus initiative was something that I encouraged students to be involved in, and I encouraged them to do so as initiatives of student-run clubs. And the first club that we had was our Exercise Science Student Club, and those students, on a volunteer basis, really did a great job of trying to encourage people on campus to be active, either through promotional campaigns and tabling efforts, some basic giveaways, or through holding boot camp classes. Um, but again, it really just depended on the interest of the student volunteers and if we had student volunteers that were interested in running that initiative. The Exercise Science Club later developed into what is called the Purpose Club to accommodate not just exercise science students, but any students on campus interested in physical therapy, occupational therapy, as well as communication science disorders, as those are all programs that are within our college. And so as this club grew, the focus on exercise as medicine within that group became hard to manage. And so we really had to rethink how we were going to try to run this Exercises as Medicine initiative on our campus. And since 2019, we've really had some major changes within our campus Exercises Medicine program. A big change came with the construction of our Magis Activity Center that is our fitness facility on campus. And so this incorporates cardiovascular equipment, weight training equipment, as well as very few but limited group exercise classes. But still, we didn't have any specific staffing related to campus recreation or really enhancing the fitness experience for our students. There's a manager that runs the facility and helps to make sure that there's student workers present to check people into the facility, but no one really geared towards some of the things that we wanted to focus on within exercises medicine. So in order to overcome the obstacle we had with kind of waning volunteers from our student clubs, I created a exercises medicine elective course for exercise science majors. So students who are junior or senior level and have taken either our Foundations of Conditioning course or our exercise prescription course, exercise testing and prescription course, can enroll in this elective, and they are provided and encouraged to promote exercise on campus and create initiatives to promote exercise on campus, as well as work 2 hours per week in the fitness center with the goal of coming up with ideas for improving our EIMOC programming, but also developing a program associated with familiarizing campus members with the fitness center, providing fitness assessments for individuals that are interested on campus, providing basic training programs and goal training sessions, whether those be individually or in small groups. And so these students in this exercises medicine course are really the heart of our exercises medicine on campus program. And over the last few years, we've also began to collaborate with other individuals on campus. Our major collaboration our biggest collaboration really is with our counseling services on campus. So since we still do not have a standard health center on campus and a lack of a medical physician, we have been partnering with and look forward to continuing to partnering with our psychologists within our counseling center. So those individuals encourage students to start or improve upon healthy behaviors such as exercise, and so they send those students our way that they think would benefit from exercise programs. and then I can have those students engage with our EIMOC course students to begin that process of goal setting and fitness assessments. So I know that's kind of a lot of background information, but the opening of this building really coincided with receiving the Barry and Linda Franklin Microgrant, and that grant has really tremendously aided our reorganization of this program and definitely helped promote the Exercises Medicine on Campus brand here at Rockhurst. I wanted to include just a few of the tangible items that we've been able to purchase with the microgrant funds. First, on the left side of the screen, you see some really neon yellow shirts. These are shirts that our Exercises Medicine on Campus students wear during their time working the fitness floor. Again, I mentioned that for the class, they're each required to work the fitness floor for 2 hours a week with the goal of increasing the EIMOC brand so students know what this initiative is, but also making sure that students recognize that they're there to help them learn how to use equipment or answer questions about exercise, about equipment, or if they'd like to sign up for fitness assessments and additional exercise programming, that they are available to them. So we like that bright yellow color so that they stand out and they stand apart from the other individuals that are exercising in the gym. Other things we see here, we have just some basic tabling materials with the EIMOC brand so that we can go to various places on campus and set up to promote different activities that we have going on. And then a couple of our items that we've created so that we can give away at either tabling or to individuals participating in our events. And so we have some nice laptop stickers and then some pins that are going really quickly. But it's just nice to have something that students can walk away with when they've attended our events, or faculty members can walk away with as they've attended our events, as a nice reminder to them to hopefully stay active, but then to hopefully get the word out to others that may not have heard about what we're doing on campus just yet. While those are some of the tangible products, having those tangible products, I think, have really given our students the motivation to be creative and coming up with ideas to try and get people active on campus. And so I have a few screen grabs from some of the events that the students have held. We see that there's been a women's strength event, fitness challenges within the MAC, step challenges, push-up challenges. We've partnered with Residence Life to do kind of an Instagram challenge and have students post when they are exercising. We have October Walk the Rock events every Wednesday where we have 1 mile and a half-mile routes for individuals to walk with our Exercises Medicine representatives. And then recently we had a fitness scavenger hunt, which was just kind of a fun way to try and get people out and moving. I know that a big challenge to having our events has been participation, especially during COVID as we were wearing masks in the gym. People didn't always want to be in there, or maybe weren't comfortable being in close proximity with one another. And so we've had better luck with some of our outdoor events over the last couple of years. So you see a picture there of one of our outdoor yoga sessions. But the biggest thing I've tried to encourage my students is to recognize that they may not have a huge turnout at one of their activities. And so part of continuing with this program is to continue to hold those activities so the word gets out and more people know about what we're doing. So we've seen participation rates grow. We see a picture there in the middle from our 2021 Walk the Rock event. This was just one Wednesday. We might have had 10 people come and walk with us, and you can see by their clothes it was a little chilly outside. But this fall we had as many as 30 on any given Wednesday. So we are seeing some growth in our programs, and then we're also seeing growth in our individuals participating in those events, those challenges within our MAC Rec Center. One of our real goals, though, in getting the word out about exercise as medicine is so that we can really work towards that gold initiative. So this semester, we were really kind of building off of the growth that has come from the things we've been able to purchase through the microgrant and the initiatives we've built as a result of having the microgrant has really helped us build our name so that we can try and promote what we call our Are You Fit Mentor program. And this is really the bread and butter of exercise as medicine on campus. So encouraging students and faculty and staff across campus to come and meet with our students to learn how to use equipment, to have their fitness assessments done, to set goals, and to start those exercise programs and try and get them more active. You see there a picture of our assessment room within the Magis Activity Center, and so we're excited to have that. And again, this has really been launched last spring. We started talking about it, and it's been launched more fully this fall. And it's slow going, but we are getting the word out right now. My students are working with about 10 campus members to help them reach their fitness goals, but we're excited about where this is headed in the future. I, just definitely like to acknowledge again how helpful having this microgrant has been, especially over the last 2 years when we've probably all experienced waning fitness levels on campus. And I'd also like to thank my students who are engaged in the program, especially those that hung with us during COVID when it can be tricky to come up with ways to keep people active. My colleagues in exercise science, and then of course the Rockhurst administration for being very supportive and allowing me to create a class to support our students and recognizing the important role that our students can play in improving the health and fitness levels of all of our campus companions. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, and I'm excited to talk to you about our student-led health coaching pilot program that we've launched here at St. Ambrose University as part of our Exercise as Medicine on Campus initiative. So first, a little bit about our campus environment. We're a smaller university, about 2,000 undergraduate students. We've got about 600 plus graduate students with our graduate programs primarily in health and human services like physical therapy, occupational therapy, physician's assistant, and we have 400 plus faculty and staff on our campus. Our department is one of the larger departments, 300 plus students, and we have undergraduate degrees in exercise science, human performance and fitness, and sport management, and we also have a master's program in exercise physiology. So a little bit of background behind how this program, our health coaching program, came about. One, we recognize that opportunities for one-on-one student and employee interactions is limited. Outside of the classroom, we have our human performance and fitness majors who complete a senior level practicum class where they conduct personal training with a faculty or staff member who's interested. The trainer and client pairings are obviously limited to how many students are enrolled in the course at the time. And the interest in the personal trainer is often twice the number of student trainers available. Oftentimes our students that are enrolled in the course are only about maybe 6 to 12 on average, and oftentimes we have 20 plus employees who are interested in that personal training. So we thought, how can we offer more for those interested in receiving some sort of coaching or training? And so we thought of health coaching. Health coaching offers less time commitment for both participants and any student coaches. It can be more tailored in terms of the goals that you come up with and doesn't have to be always focused on exercise. and it provides a hands-on learning opportunity for our students, especially in areas that we don't often give one-on-one training with, and that's like behavior change theory and practice in terms of motivational interviewing and things like that. So in order to just gauge the interest from the faculty and staff side, we took a poll of previous St. Ambrose personal training clients that have taken part in our practicum course. 93% of respondents indicated that they would be interested in a health coaching program. Also, they expressed interest in additional student-led programs, events, and seminars. And so we took this as basically a green light to move forward with something like a health coaching program. So we recruited from our undergraduate student pool in our kinesiology department, and were able to recruit 4 students who had both the interest and the time availability to put towards this program. And it was a mix of exercise science and human performance and fitness majors. We took about 8 weeks of training with our health coaching students before launching our program, and this allowed us to review biometric assessments, resting blood pressure, body composition, and so on, and how to discuss those results with any clients. We practiced motivational interviewing techniques and tricks. We talked about situations, and we did some role playing with certain client and coach situations to give them a little bit of practice ahead of time before actually going one-on-one with anyone. And then we also started to prepare for what we called an EIM on campus seminar, which was embedded within our health coaching program, where all the health coaches would be have available these seminars covering topics ranging from behavior change to physical activity and mental health. And so we started to build this program before actually launching it with any clients. So the overall program design, we recruited 8 faculty and staff from St. Ambrose for this study. So that ended up being two clients per student health coach. They underwent a pre-program screening the first week, where we took biometric measurements, resting blood pressure, heart rate, body composition. They underwent a psychological well-being survey and a self-perception of knowledge and confidence and tools regarding health and wellness topics. Then they underwent 8 weeks of health coaching, which amounted to 8 30-minute sessions, 1 session per week. The student skills that were employed here were talk about goal setting, motivational interviewing techniques, and real-world problem solving. And then following the 8 weeks, they did a post-program screening, again, looking at biometrics, psychological well-being, and self-perception of knowledge and confidence. So again, those biometrics assessed were height, weight, BMI, resting heart rate and blood pressure, body composition, which included bioelectric impedance analysis, and waist and hip circumferences. All biometric measurements were optional for our clients. For example, out of the 8 enrolled into our program, only 6 of them felt comfortable with body composition, and so we only had 6 clients that went through the BIA and the waist and hip circumference measurements. The psychological well-being assessment was using a 42-item psychological well-being scale developed by Reef in 1989. And our self-perception of overall knowledge, confidence, and tools surrounding health and wellness assessments was a survey that we developed and assessed on a Likert scale of 0 to 1 to 5. So the overall results from our program, Saw modest changes within some of the biometric numbers. Obviously, with an N of 6 or an N of 8, we don't have statistical strength here. But we're just starting this pilot program, and we can see a trend. You know, there's a trend towards weight loss, body composition changes, and even a slight decrease in systolic blood pressure. But in truth, the program itself was not necessarily focused on biometric numbers. We're just curious to see, you know, how that would what those results might be. Not everybody has had a goal that was specifically targeted for weight loss, for example, or body composition change. But it is interesting to see that just with our program, 8 weeks alone, seeing some changes here in their biometric screening numbers. In terms of the psychological well-being measures, not much change at all here. You can see this is off of a 42-point scale, so if they score higher on that, closer to that 42 for any of these 6 dimensions assessed using this scale, that means that they fall or identify closer to that autonomy, positive relations with others, environmental mastery, purpose in life, personal growth, or self-acceptance. And you can see that pretty much all of our clients scored pretty high, with some change, you know, some increasing, some decreasing. The questions asked within this scale, you know, might I would say that there might be some learning that needs to be assessed in terms of familiarity with the questions, but essentially you're looking at similar to a state trait anxiety scale, just like how do you feel in this moment. And so not seeing much change, but you can see that there is some clients who had a lower score and then scored higher in the post-assessment. Our most interesting data, I think, so far within the program is the self-perception of knowledge and confidence on these health topics. So we really focused on 4 major areas within health and wellness. Just general behavior change, nutrition, physical activity and mental well-being, and physical activity and exercise levels. And so we asked questions that basically were, how do you feel your knowledge is about behavior change? Or how do you feel your confidence is regarding nutritional information, things like that. And so on a 5-point scale from no knowledge to superior knowledge, they self-identified or self-assessed themselves in these areas. So you could see in the pre-health coaching, which is on the top bar for each of the categories, and post-health coaching on the bottom bar, seeing change from pre-health coaching. There was more individuals identifying in the minimal knowledge or basic knowledge, and pretty much everyone moved in a positive direction to adequate knowledge or feeling superior knowledge or confidence in all of these areas. And so we took that as a sign that the health coaching really provided the individual and the client a means to feel more confident in just the general sense of health and well-being. So really our takeaways from our program so far is that a student-led health coaching program can have meaningful impact on students, faculty, and staff at St. Ambrose University. Really, we saw that the self-perception of their knowledge and confidence in behavior change, nutrition, physical activity, and mental wellness showed the most improvement over an 8-week health coaching period. Our biometric numbers remains unclear. Again, it's only 8-week program. Not all the participants were looking to explicitly change weight loss or things like that. Sometimes their goals were simply just to drink more water or addressing stress management techniques and tools. And so not all of those are going to translate to biometric changes, and you could argue that, you know, over an 8-week period, That's not really a long period of time to see significant change in those biometrics. Some of our clients volunteered their testimonials for this. And so, some of them said, the student health coaches expanded my knowledge in nutrition and overall health knowledge. They gave easy tips and substitutions that were easy to implement and sustain even 6 months later. I thought I'd be getting an importance of hydration speech, but instead, he was realistic about my needs and approached the conversation from an accessibility angle that was really quite brilliant. I enjoyed the health coaching experience as it helped me unravel decades of diet culture mentality and understand what is healthy regardless of fads just by talking out loud about my experience. Overall, we had a very positive experience from all of our clients, regardless of what the results showed in terms of biometrics or survey data. From the student side, they also had a very positive experience. Our student health coaches, some of the quotes that they gave me, EIM gives me an outlet to put my passion for health and well-being into practice. It has been such a good experience applying my knowledge in a way that can make a difference to my clients, as well as gain real-life one-on-one experience. Learning how to connect with my clients and make positive changes through behavior change techniques is an invaluable tool that will help me in numerous ways in my future as an exercise professional. Overall, this has been a very positive experience so far. Obviously, some of the limitations, it's short duration, only 8 weeks. We have a low number of participants so far, though currently we are working with 12 new clients. And so hopefully we'll have more information to work off of here and build our program. Our program is first and foremost for the client and meant to benefit them in whatever way health coaching can. And so that is not necessarily quantitative in their results. We did not specifically aim to see quantitative results. Instead, we're looking for more of a qualitative approach. And we would like to look at more long-term follow-up with some of our clients or possibly some of our other programming with exercises medicine and see how that impacts more of a long-term impact rather than just a semester by semester approach. So we're really excited about where our program can go for the future. So thank you so much for allowing us to present and put on this program and implement it, and we only hope for more positive feedback and information in the future.
Hey everybody, I'm Bryce Daniels, and my colleague Dr. Aaron Howie and I received the EIM 2021 Microgrant. And the project that was produced from the grant was titled Exercises Medicine on Campus, the Implementation and Effects of an Exercise Referral Scheme Using Physical Activity Counseling. So real quick, I just want to give you the operational definition of an exercise referral scheme, which is also known as an ERS. And an ERS typically consists of a health professional determining a patient to be physically inactive, and then referring a patient to a physical activity specialist, and then the physical activity specialist consults with the patient about how to increase physical activity. And if you see this definition, you're probably telling yourself, like, that's pretty vague. And you're exactly right. That physical activity consults with a patient is very broad. Like, how do physical activity specialists consult with a patient? And so we wanted to specifically look at a technique called motivational interviewing, which is a client-centered based counseling technique, which is meant to remove ambivalence towards a behavior. In our case, it was physical activity. We also knew in ERS, in the literature, nobody's really published on the implementation measures of trying to incorporate an ERS inside a college counseling center. So that leads to the specific aims of the project. So aim 1, we want to establish the reach, acceptability, and feasibility of an exercise referral scheme through counseling and psychological services, aka CAPS, at a large public university. And then we wanted to determine the effectiveness of a CAPS ERS using motivational interviewing to increase device-based physical activity. So the methods, how did we achieve our aims? So the design included a randomized control trial with repeated measures. And then on this portion of the slide, I have to be very particular. Okay, so in the grant proposal, we proposed we'd get 30 participants. However, we'll get to the constraints. We had to audible to get in a sample of 20 participants. We wanted these participants to be between ages of 18 to 24 years old. But however, we had to audible to actually get participants that are 18 years or older. We wanted these participants to not currently be meeting physical activity guidelines, not be diagnosed with a severe mental disorder, and we wanted them to be able to read and speak English fluently. The proposed strategy was to get participants referred by CAPS. And as we'll dive into later, that was a very admirable proposal, but we weren't able to get it done. We had to open up recruitment to the broader campus, and therefore we used an electronic newswire to get our samples so we could actually test out our motivational interviewing intervention. So the theoretical framework for the intervention included the social cognitive theories. You might be familiar with constructs such as reciprocal determinism, self-efficacy, or the confidence to be able to do a behavior, outcome expectations. So all these constructs are related to social cognitive theory, really a theory that explains why somebody performs a behavior. I will say that we really did focus a lot on the self-efficacy portion of the theory, giving people confidence to be able to perform physical activity, and we'll talk more about that measure later. But the actual intervention itself is we had a control group, which we deemed the standard care group, which is really, they received a brochure about their physical activity, which would be similar to an actual counseling center, getting a brochure about physical activity, how much you should be doing, and so forth. And then we had the motivational interviewing group, where they received an educational brochure, an individualized exercise prescription, and 4 weekly motivational interviewing sessions with the PI or the physical activity specialist. The PI and the physical activity specialist were the same person in this case. And so I want to give you an overview of what these MI sessions looked like. We're not going to go box for box here, but essentially in the week 1 session, we greeted participants, and then we did a decisional balance exercise. And what that looked like is I asked participants, what are the benefits of exercising? And they list out the benefits. Okay, what are the benefits of not exercising? And they list out those benefits. And I'd say, okay, what are the negatives of exercising? Okay, what are the negatives of not exercising? And they'd list these out, and we'd talk about them. We also talked about their current physical activity level, where they were considered sedentary. Okay, and which that led into, well, what kind of physical activity did you do in the past? Okay, and then based off physical activity that they did in the past, we explored more so what physical activity would they be willing to do. And so we came up with an individualized physical activity program for each individual, and we really mirrored that off of the physical activity guidelines, doing a combination of cardio and strength training exercises to meet those guidelines. We also set goals. And then the nice thing about motivational interviewing, the participant, they basically came up with their own tips for how they were going to achieve this program and not necessarily receive advice from the physical activity specialist. Weeks 2 to 4, we changed it up. So we just kind of recapped what physical activity they actually accomplished. Were they able to follow the plan perfectly? If they didn't, why were they not able to? What were the barriers? What were things keeping them to achieve the plan? We also reviewed the positives, though. What were the positives of the physical activity that you did perform? Okay, and then the participant had to come up with solutions to overcome physical activity barriers. And if we needed to tweak the physical activity program, maybe something about the program wasn't working for that individual, we totally made changes and made best for them. I also would assign them weekly homework to, again, kind of get more repetitions of the tangible benefits of physical activity. For example, I'd ask them, before you start your workout, ask yourself on a 1 to 10 scale, how stressed are you? And then 15 minutes after the workout, I want you to record, again, on 0 to 10 scale, how stressed you are. and hopefully they saw the changes for themselves each time after they worked out. And we did that for depression, anxiety, and stress. So the implementation outcomes included REACH, which is simply the total number of students referred by a counselor, and then the total number of students who joined referral scheme and completed the program. Adherence was tracked by totaling the number of sessions each participant attended, and then the acceptability was captured through a online open-ended questionnaire, and really just looked at their favorite part of the intervention, if they would continue participating in the intervention, that relates to sustainability, what they would change about the intervention, and if they wanted to provide any additional comments. And then look at the feasibility. I conducted a post-semi-structured interview with CAP staff, which ended up being one counselor, and we explored the perceptions of feasibility and sustainability of continuing the program in CAPS. For AIM 2, the primary outcome was again device-based physical activity, with that specific variable being the vector magnitude of mean counts per minute per day. And then we also looked at sleep. We looked at the objective sleep duration throughout the intervention. And then AIM 2, the instrumentation outcome. So this is where we're looking at physical fitness. And so for body composition, we did a DEXA scan. We looked at percent body fat. For muscular strength, we used a hand grip dynamometer, and we looked at their total grip strength score for their muscular strength. For flexibility, we did the sit and reach test to look at their total flexibility score with centimeters. And then for muscular endurance, the main outcome was how many push-ups they could do without failing or breaking good form. We used the push-up test. And then for aerobic fitness, we did the 1 mile Rockport walk test and estimated VO2 max. We wanted to actually do a true VO2 Bruce protocol VO2 max, but because of COVID, the IRB thought this 1 mile walk test would be safer. Secondary measures, so these are more the self-reported measures. Like, for example, we got self-reported physical activity through the International Physical Activity Questionnaire long form, and the variable we were really interested in there was the overall met minutes per week. We also looked at the Pittsburgh Sleep Quality Index. That gave us a self-reported sleep quality measure. We also looked at self-efficacy of exercise, and then the depression, anxiety, and stress scale to evaluate mental health. And then we also looked at demographics, age, sex, year in school, and current medications. So I know I threw a lot of variables at you and kind of a little bit of a complex study design, so I just want to go back and give you the overview of what we did. So we had a referral and recruitment period. Once we had our participants, we did pre-measures, which included physical activity, sleep, fitness, mental health, and self-efficacy. Our patients were then randomized into the two groups. So we had the motivational interviewing group and the control group. That came out to be a good split of 10 and 10 patients. The MI group received 4 weeks of 4 motivational interviewing sessions, and then the control group was 4 weeks after they received that education brochure. They lived their lives. Post measures were pretty much the same, but then we got the actual implementation measures such as reach, acceptability, and then we did a post interview with a counselor. For the data analysis, reach and adherence were simply just totaled throughout the study. We used thematic analysis in that semi-structured interview with the counselor. And then for AIM 2, looking at the effectiveness of the MI ERS, we used ENCOVAs with repeated measures controlling for sex and age, and alpha was set at 0.05. Our hypothesis is ambitious. We thought the MI group would demonstrate significant and positive effects for each of our outcomes. So focusing on reach real quick, 22 clinicians within the respective CAPS was like how many counselors would actually refer. We know from our CAPS an average of 110 new intakes per month. And then one counselor ended up making referrals, and this counselor sees an average of 20 clients per month. 14 patients were referred to the study, and unfortunately, this is why we had an audible 0 patients joined the ERS from referment from CAPS. the feasibility. So after that semi-structured interview, we found that the exercise referral scheme was feasible for the counselor that did participate. She said the process was feasible, having the handouts and visual representation was helpful for students. However, there was barriers for referrals. Students faced hesitation to use exercise as a mental health treatment, or some students felt like they couldn't add another thing to their life. Another barrier to get counselors to actually refer was we just get really overwhelmed with a lot of referrals. And then a facilitator for referral that the counselor identified is, my hope is for the next step is to get more counselors referring and to be able to help with this process. So I think more papers or more referrals we hand out, the more people or students are going to follow up. The acceptability, so again, that open-ended question that for the MI group at the end of the study, an overall theme was they were supportive of the intervention, and these major sub-themes included they loved the accountability aspect of the MI sessions. And then 7 out of 10 said they would continue the intervention. They found it helpful. And then 6 out of 9 said they wouldn't make any changes to the program. And for the adherence, 100% of the MI sessions were attended by participants. So just to give you more familiarity with our sample, you can see our females, the average age was about 27 years old, males 24 years old. We had more undergraduate students than grad students for females, and we had one more graduate student than undergraduate student for males. You can kind of look at our baseline, the average physical activity for female and males. You know, it's pretty high, but as we know with self-reported measures of physical activity, it's often overestimated. But you can kind of see in our fitness measures, BMI right around that overweight range, percent body fat was elevated in this sample, which makes sense as we know that physical activity can relate to our fitness measures. And then overall, moderate score for the exercise self-efficacy. Typically the higher these self-efficacy scores, the more confidence you have in performing the behavior. And then these were moderate total DAS scores as well. Higher scores indicate better mental health. And then looking at physical activity and sleep from our sample. So again, a major outcome for the self-reported physical activity included total METs per minute per week. And you can see that there was a positive change for the MI group, but there was also a positive change for the standard care group. And so there was no significant effect for the time and group interaction. Looking at our device-based physical activity, you can also see that there was not a significant change with the time group interaction. Okay, and then sleep, participants actually lost sleep in the MI group and so forth. For fitness and mental health, we did see some positive changes in our group by time interaction for our MI group. They actually lost half a percent body fat, which was significant. They increased their VO2 max compared to the standard care group. Muscular strength increased. It decreased in the standard care group. And then depression, stress, and total DAS scores were all had a significant time group interaction. So conclusion, low reach of CAPS patients, 0 patients joined the ERS. This could be explained by only having 1 to 22 CAPS clinicians referring. The barriers included low counselor and patient buy-in to the ERS. MI group showed no significant improvements in device-based physical activity, but both groups increased self-reported physical activity. And the MI group showed significant improvements in percent body fat, VO2 max, muscular strength, and mental health scores. And I'll be happy to take any questions.
Well, thanks for watching those presentations with us. We'll have our panelists joining us here shortly. And if you have questions that you would like to ask, go ahead and type them into the chat, and our panelists will be happy to answer those. To get us started, though, I wanted to ask our panelists, actually specifically for our University of Arkansas group, seemed like you had to call a lot of audibles there. I don't know, Bryce, if you played football or something, that was good terminology there. But you know, how do you think the results would have been different for you guys if you had gotten your intended clinical population or didn't have to make so many changes on the fly?
Yeah, great question. I often spend time thinking about that. In all honesty, I think it probably would have been about the same, because I think the participants we would have got would have had that motivation to actually like be in the study and know what they were being a part of, and probably take advantage of the MI sessions. I think that was the nice thing about the broad sampling that we ended up doing with the population, with the general student population. Like they wanted change. Like they reached out to me saying, hey, we want to do this. I want to get back on track with my physical activity. And so I think with the clinical population, it would have been similar if they're motivated. Obviously, if participants aren't motivated, then they didn't want to be part of the study. So.
Yeah, and I agree as well. And I will support Bryce that the audibles were not due to lack of effort. It was over a year-long project of working with CAPS and trying to problem solve and how to get participants to meet with our physical activity counselors. I think maybe if we had more of our CAPS participants, we would have probably seen greater improvements in mental health, just because they were starting at lower baseline levels potentially. But we know that mental health is a major issue on our campus anyways among the general population, whether or not people are seeking professional help from CAPS.
I think we're definitely seeing that on every single campus. And that was even kind of a catastrophe before COVID, and even more so now post-COVID. I think a question I have for all three groups here is, and some of you kind of addressed this a little bit, but where do you see future directions from the things that you've done this past year with the microgrant? What kind of directions are you looking forward to doing, and what's the future of EIMOC on your campus? Nicole, should we start with you?
Sure. So like I mentioned in my presentation, we're just kind of getting started with that referral process from our counseling center, which, as you alluded to, is a very active spot on campus. And so trying to start that referral process and getting our students more engaged with, I like what Chris talked about a lot with really the health coaching standpoint. I know both presenters really talked about that, and that's where we kind of see initially starting as we, I guess, get a system down for prepping our students a little bit better to move into the fitness assessment side of things, but definitely moving in that direction as well.
Thanks. How about you, Chris?
Well, I think the grant was definitely like the starting point and a really good instigate, like just helping us get going with the program. And we want to, I think we're really hoping that we can get away from maybe the research type of study aspect of it and make it just every semester we'll open it up, and it's not going to be like 8 weeks only, and it'll just be kind of a rolling enrollment, and we'll see how that goes. And then expanding into more of a physical activity programming offering, and seeing how the impact is there, and then using both of them, because like Nicole talked about walking, we also have a walking group, and I liked we're just hoping to get more visibility on campus, and also let people know that we offer things that are more than just like an event here and there, so more consistent.
Yeah, I like what Nicole said in her presentation about just you keep doing the events even if you don't have people show up, because then they get used to it, and that's probably a theme for all three campuses. You just keep on going, and eventually it'll be the norm, I think.
Our first event that we ever had with EIM had 2 participants, so.
Yeah, I think one of our early events we offer usually one a semester physical education course, just a general elective. And I think our first event, we just went and like took that class, made them come out to the quad to do the boot camp workout that our students had organized for that day.
Mm-hmm. And how about for you, Erin and Bryce?
Yeah, well, Bryce is gone, so he's not at the University of Arkansas anymore. He's spreading EIM elsewhere. But it's always really exciting to hear what other campuses are doing, Nicole and Chris, and I think it's always motivating to see it working in other places. For us, this trial with CAPS, even though it didn't work out as intended, we still had a lot of interest from campus. So we had 157, I think, people contact us with not a whole lot of recruitment on our campus. And so we're really motivated with some changes in administration, as well as within our health center and our UREC recreation team to keep it going and open up our referral across campus. So we spoke with some people who have done some EIM implementation work in healthcare, and they've found great success with self-referral. So trying to be able to do that physical activity assessment on a large scale, whether it's in classes, but giving students the options to self-refer to our counselors. And one of our MDs in our health center is actually starting a small kind of obesity treatment program, but he's going to be referring his patients to us, which is really exciting. And we're going to be using Bryce's framework from the motivational interviewing, kind of more health coaching, physical activity coaching sessions to see how that goes in the spring.
I know that we are almost out of time, but I was going to comment, 2 out of 3 of you chose the health coaching motivational interviewing as part of your design in your projects. And I just want to tap into that creativity for a minute and see how that came about when you were designing your protocols.
Well, I think what we recognized was we already had a component in terms of students' personal training, and that in order to see maybe long-term change was really what we wanted to help along, and you can't just do that by telling people what to do. And so we really wanted to, and also give our students an opportunity to work on more of an interviewing process rather than just trying to pull a fact from a book. And it's been challenging for them, but they've learned a lot. And we did have a longer training with them on that, and then they told us like we wanted to jump in more quickly, so we've been kind of releasing them a little bit, pushing them out of the nest a little bit more quickly this semester.
Yeah, I think
Go ahead, Bryce.
Oh yeah, no, I think for us it was just important to really recognize kind of where we're at with a lot of college students, suffering from anxiety, and a lot of that might be social anxiety. And so I thought just using more of the motivational interviewing, it's more of a safe place. People are more likely to be vulnerable. I can't tell you how many students I've worked with, they just don't want to go into the gym because they don't want people to see them work out, or they really don't know what they're doing and things like that. So I thought, if we can just have a one-on-one conversation, relationship, build that relationship over time, and even in just a month span, it's just funny how our conversation started to where they went in over a month. I still think that individualized care is important for physical activity.
Yeah, and since doing it, we've really noticed that the health coaching, MI, motivational interviewing really fills a niche doesn't exist on our campus. So with our recreation services, it is much more focused on personal training and getting people in the gym. And like Bryce mentions, that's not really what people need. And I love listening to Chris, we can reach more people for a smaller amount of time with this type of counseling, as opposed to more of a personal training, more fitness, performance-based focus.
Yeah, that's what I loved about both of those in your models, is that's really what jumps the gap from science to people. And so I love that.
We're sorry we couldn't get to everybody's questions. We'll we'll wrap up now since it's been an hour. As we close, I just want to remind everybody that the microgrant cycle will be starting up again soon, and you'll get communications about that. But just to let you know that the microgrant applications will open up on January 16th. In just a couple months. It will close on March 3rd with our announcements coming on May 5th of next spring. So looking forward to all of you applying for those and looking for some great future activities like was shared today. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a great day.